Good day, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. Today, we're going to go through the Discover for ArcGIS Pro version 1.2 release. This is the third release of Discover for ArcGIS Pro. The first time the release was in June 2020. We had a second in July 21. And this is the third for March 22. This is quite a big release for us because this is where we finally get to join Discover Mobile to Discover for ArcGIS Pro. So you can package up your ArcGIS profiles, take them out to the field and back in, and that's what we're going to go over today. My name is John Shippick. I'm the General Manager of Exploration at Datamine Software. I'm an exploration geo by trade. I've been in the business for about 20 years. And today I'm going to take you through our latest release. So just a quick recap on Discover for ArcGIS Pro before we get into the new features. So it's a really exploration focused tool. Now, sure, you can use it for any part of the mining life cycle, but where we really focus our attention is in that real early explore phase of the project funnel of the mining life cycle. So we like to think of the mining life cycle. You have the explore phase at the top, going from zero to understanding that you have a deposit of economic significance. Then you start to learn about that. Then you start your advanced drilling, your resource definition, your feasibility, and then you go on to mine. But our product, we really focus hard around the explore phase, around regional prospectivity, doing your exploration lease assessment, prospect evaluation, and your target drilling. And that's what we do. So the key activities that we really focus on, because we are focused on that part of the explore phase, and that what this product, everything we put in this product is really focused on 6 key activities. It's the ability to collate data, the ability to consult. So it's really important as an explorer to get your ESG right. So before you hit the ground, you want to be out consulting people. And that's one of the things we'll take you through with mobile, and it's a really good tool to do to help you with your consultation. The ability to collect data is very important in an early part of exploration lease. And that's also what we're going to show you with Discover Mobile. Once you've got all your data in, you want to analyze it. Then you want to plan your next phase. And most importantly, as an explorer, the thing you do the most is communicating. You're either communicating to management, to government, to investors. You're continually communicating. So I want this tool to have all the ability to communicate what you need to communicate, basically. So if we think of the collate phase, you might pick up a project. It's got 3D models, geophysics, drilling, imagery, old report data, geochemistry, GIS. You want the ability to be able to bring that all together. And if you can't collate data, so just say, for example, you've got some weird gravity file that might have been $1 million survey. If you can't collate that data, you've lost $1 million worth of data. So it's really important to us that we focus on that. And that's one of the things that ArcGIS Pro does really well already. The next thing you want to do once you've got your data in is the ability to analyze that data, to be able to look at it in 3D, to see how it all comes together, to be able to bring in all those data types and really analyze what you're doing. So the first feature I'm going to show you is our structural modeling, our structural symbol tool, and that comes under the analyze. So you've taken your structured data, you want the ability to be able to bring it into Discover for ArcGIS Pro and use our structural symbols. So the structure symbol tool is pretty unique. One of the fantastic things about ArcGIS Pro is it's got a 2D and 3D environment. So you could have your 2D map. You might want that for reporting. You might want to put your 2D symbols on that. At the same time, using the same data set, you might have it in a 3D view and you want to do analytical work. You want to see what your structures are doing. So we've put in our structure symbols tool and given you the ability to do both in this really unique environment that is ArcGIS Pro. So if we have a look here, so the first thing we've done is we've created 3 templated structure legends. So structure based on Australian symbology, Canadian and US. And you'll see these are really extensive. There's probably about 120 line items in each, and pretty much every structure you've ever heard of is in there represented as a 2D style. but we've also has a corresponding 3D style. So if it's a planar feature, it'll be a disc. If it's a linear feature, it'll be an arrow when you take it into 3D. So that makes it a seamless operation of going from a 2D visualization of structural data or 3D. So we've accommodated both. So even though you've got these templated data sets, you can annotate these down. So you can modify these. So you can open up, you can save a structure, a templated structure legend as something else, and you can start deleting the fields that are there. So you can always, you can't add fields, but you can delete them, okay? And that's usually enough. Now you've got your structure legends. We've got the apply structure legend to layer tool. So here we select our structure legend that we want to apply to our layer. We select the map scene that the layer's in. So then it knows if it's a 2D scene or a 3D scene, so how you want the data to be positioned. We've got the method. You can either have strike or dip and dip direction. So then you choose your dip direction field, your dip field, your structure type column. In this case, we're going to use unique colors, and we're going to write all our discover codes. That's the other thing about these legends. All the discover codes are associated with the data type, so we can take it into the field because you need a discover code to take your structured data in with Discover Mobile. So you'll see here, we've applied it straight away. We've got all our structure symbols. They're oriented the way we want them with the type of symbology we want. Now here's the same data set, just in a different view, in the 3D view. So we're going to use a structure legend. Now we're going to use a 3D scene. We're going to use 3D symbols, just seeing that tick box down the bottom. And where those symbols end up, we have to get the Z value from either the object or the ground layer, which we're going to do in this case. So it keeps all the structure symbols on the ground, or you can get the symbol value from a column, okay? But in this case, it's the ground. So for looks, it looks nice, all sitting on the ground layer. So we apply that. And you can see this time, instead of 2D structure symbols, we've got really nice 3D discs. So you can see here, and the types have got unique colors. So the pink in this case is bedding, the purple are joint features. You can see this is a syncline actually, it's real data. And it really gives that visual effect quite quickly. So you can start to analyze your structured data that you've collected in the field. There's a lineation with an arrow instead of a disc, okay? Esri being Esri, you can click your symbol and you can get all the data that's associated with that really easily. The next part we're going to look at is, so with the next, as an explorer, once you've collated and analyzed your data, you want to get out into the field. But before you do that, you want to be consulting. You can't just be walking on people's land. You want to be consulting all the local area, local government, landholders, whoever's a key stakeholder. And we find, so with Discover Mobile, it's a great consultation tool. So you can take it out into the field. You could be on a farmer's land. You can show them what you want to do. They can say, okay, I want you to put a path up this way. So you're showing them the data right there in the field. It's organized, it looks professional. You can share, anyone can download Discover Mobile. You could give them the geo package, the key stakeholders, so they can really look and interact with the data. So it's a great consultation tool. But the real game for mobile is the ability to quickly collect and integrate your data from the field. So the ability to quickly collect field data and encourage people to take away that barrier of people collecting the data because it's so easy to do. That's what we really want to achieve with Discover Mobile. So a lot of you being ArcGIS Pro users, you're probably already engaging with field maps. So I just want to delineate the difference between the two products. So field maps, I will say it is an amazing product. Whoever uses it will probably share that sentiment. It's a great product. It's really good for highly integrated web services. So if you've got that expertise, it's really good. It's fantastic for things like you want to update data live because it does have web services. It's great. Really good for things like asset management, and it's really good for enterprise data handling. So all your data that comes back up, straight back into the enterprise. What Discover Mobile is great for is geological mapping. That's what it is. Its niche capability is as a geological mapping tool. So it's got things that are just niche to geologists. Drill hole integration, structure collection tools. It's built for offline, so it's not web services. So a lot of the times as a geologist, you will be offline. Okay, so that is really, so that's, we really understand that, and we've architected and built it to be able to support that. Coming up shortly, we'll have the Outcrop Mapping tool. That'll be in our next release. We've just started that process, which I'll show you today. And really importantly as well, we're going to have GDMS integration. So if you're a geologist, you're collecting samples, which is a really common event, you want it to go back through your GDMS system. So you've got your sample dispatch, whatever. We want to be able to get to a point where that's a seamless operation. You're using our spatial capability to collect data, you're using the GDMS to manage your data. So the mobile data flow, unlike ArcMaps, doesn't have any web service. So it's strictly desktop to mobile. So the way it works is you'll have all your source data in files. It comes onto the desktop. In the desktop, you'll make a mobile project file where you'll clip the data to just where you want to be going. So one of the limitations with mobile, obviously, you can't have the whole of WA or the whole of Indonesia on a file to take out into the field on a tablet or a mobile device. So you want to be able to clip that data down to it's just where you want to take it into the field. So it gives you the ability to say, okay, we're going to take the data off the source repository on the desktop. I'm going to clip it. And then what we do, we save it into a geopackage file. So geopackage, it is an amazing bit of architecture. It's an SQLite file. It's the open standard, Geospatial Consortium. We put everything in there. So everything goes in there, our raster files, our grid files, our vector files, our pick lists, our images, anything, it's all in that one SQL database, which makes it really easy to handle. So then when that's there, so that is your single source of truth. So the way it works, we don't have personas, we don't have logins. It's pretty much, if you've got the desktop, you're the admin, and if it's out with a mobile, you're the user. And that's the delineation at the moment. It's not particularly sophisticated, which isn't a bad thing. So now you've got your geopackage on the desktop. We've got tools. You can either put it onto a web-enabled folder, so you can grab it off your phone, or we've got this fantastic feature called Desktop Sync. So it syncs using the Wi-Fi off your desktop, off your mobile, and it syncs straight to the mobile device. So one thing there, even if you have you need Wi-Fi, but if you have no mobile coverage, you can still use a thing like we've been testing it here. It's an Amazon TP link, without dropping actual names, but what they are, they're just little portable LAN devices that plug into a lithium battery, and they work really quickly. So you can do it off the hood of your car, basically, with zero with zero Wi-Fi around. So you can use that. You can sync to your mobile. Data gets collected in the field and it gets synced back. And the good thing about it is it's multi-user. So you need one license to produce a geopackage. You could give that to thousands of people. It doesn't matter. Anyone can download mobile. Anyone can read that file, and anyone can bring the data back in. Okay. So here I'm going to take you through us preparing our data to take into the field. So what you want to do is put all your data into, hang on a second, all your data into one scene. So just one map scene. So here we've got DTMs, we've got soil grid, we've got a geology image, we've got, excuse me, polygons, we've got lines, we've got points, all our attribute data, whatever you want to take it in the field, excuse me, you can. The next thing you want to do, all the text-based legends you can use as drop downs in the field. And the other thing you can do is use all your legends as long as in the legend editor, you've got, see that mobile theme, as long as that's ticked, it will create a mobile theme of that and take it out into the field. So you can color all your data exactly as you want. The next thing you want to do is look at your vector files and look at your attribute fields. And you want to ensure that you've got all the fields for collecting the data you want to collect in the field. Now, your mobile data it's different to your desktop data. Like you'll have things like accuracy or images or GPS. So you make sure those fields are there. The next thing we're going to do is create a mobile project. And the beauty of that is This project will live on your desktop as a geo package, okay? So it lives in your app data folder. So you select all the files you want. You can take drill hole project data, I'd have it in this case, and you can select all those files that are in that scene. It'll automatically populate it, and then you get into the project setup. Now, this is the most important part, and what we're doing is we're validating our data and seeing what data we want to collect in each field. So you'll see, and this is the structure table, and you'll see we've got dip direction, dip, that has to be configured so the compass knows where to put that. You've got discover code, so it knows what font to use and what lookup table you want to put in there, okay? Other things we've got, data you can collect, your horizontal and vertical accuracy, your map X and map Y if you've collected something with the crosshairs instead of a GPS. We'll go for a few more. So here's a pretty flat table. It's just got a lookup table for geology. So we're going to give it one from the Discover Legends, which is there already. And we'll just configure one more table with our validation data. Now this is a sample table. We're going to be collecting samples. So we want to select the sample field. So you see here we've got photo ID field. What that does, it says, I'm going to take the sample number and I'm going to call the photo that sample. You see we've given it an increment. So every time we take a sample, it'll go from JM001, JM002. It'll just keep incrementing. We're just populating the GPS XYZ, so it comes out as a point. If you're collecting data in the field, it will store it in the object, all the spatial data, but you might just want to get the attribute data and put it into a column. Here, we configured some photos, so that's an image column, which will, so we know we can take an image when we're out in the field, and map XY, which is instead of, if we capture something with the crosshairs on the map, just manually, instead of the GPS, it'll save it in there. And we've got our horizontal and vertical accuracy. Just going back to see it's all okay. You can see the increments 1, that's important. We don't have to, we don't have to type in a new sample every time. When you're in the field, you don't want to be typing. We can set up a map style, so it'll color it using one of the legends when the data comes back in. And then we go next. So this is, we're setting the clipping region, so where we want to clip all these files to. So you might have a region the size of your state, but you don't want to take that into the field, and then we hit go. And so what it's doing now is taking all these tables and it's clipping them and putting them into a geo package on your desktop. Okay, so that takes a little while because you've got to clip every file. I've just sped that up a bit here. Okay, and then we open the project and we open it in its own. When it opens up in its own map. So you'll see it's got a mobile tag on it with the project name, and it's all in there. So that's like your dashboard of the data you're going to take out into the field. You'll see it's clipped. And then if you have a look over here in the properties, and if you go to source, you'll see it's no longer pointing to the source data, it's pointing to the geo package within this project. So that gets saved within the Esri project in the Discover folder, okay? So the next thing, once we've done that, it's ready to go. We're gonna transfer it to our mobile device. So we're gonna check it out. So what happens at checkout, it takes the package and then it reprojects it all into a WGS 84 layer. So, and then puts it back into a geo package to take out into the field. So you see it's just reprojecting everything. It's going from what the scene was into WGS 84. Once that's done, we can now sync. Now, this is what I love. This is a great bit of tech. This is the desktop sync, okay? This was just with a normal Wi-Fi here in Australia. And in this case, and it depends on your device, how quick it is, it was about a 120 meg file. And you can see it's synced in about 5 seconds. So if you're out in the field with no Wi-Fi, you can do that. Now, here's an example. This is real time. So sync's connected. That was a 120 meg file. And that was about 5 seconds. So I love that. That is such a good bit of tech for working in an environment where you're not network connected. All right, so now we've got our data on our device. So that's our next part. Hang on. Okay, so once it's on our device, you shut your sync window and you'll see the project will come up with an orange dot. That's the latest one you've synced. So then what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in to, so if I hit that eyeglass and if I've selected a layer, select the eyeglass, it'll zoom into that layer, okay? So what we're going to do now, we'll just start turning on all the layers. So you can see there's our DTM, there's our geology image, there's our soil grid, there's our drone image, there's our polygons, here's some of our workings, our lines, some structures, so geochem points, some grab samples, and some structures. Okay, so you'll see with the structures, we've already turned on the structure symbols, so you'll see the structure symbols. Now here we're going to turn on the thematic. So this is one of the thematics we brought across because we ticked the mobile thematic in the legend, okay? So I'll give it a size of 3. Now I'm setting up the thematic I brought across, which is antimony ppm grab, and there's antimony, and I hit apply. Actually, I'll change the symbol. I'll make it a cross instead of a circle because I make the soils a circle. And I'll hit apply, and you can see now I've got these colored crosses based on the antimony value that's in the file. Next thing I'm going to do, here's a soil file. I'm going to bring it down so they're not so big, give it a 2. Here, another theme we brought across was the soil ppm. Again, we're looking at antimony, so I select the antimony column, and I hit apply. You can see now the thematic is on those point layers. I can, with the thematic, I can create the thematic in the field on the mobile device, but I've just chose in this case to bring them across, okay? So what we're going to do now, we've got all our data in, we've styled it. We want to start collecting some data in the field. So here I'm going to collect some structure data. You see I selected the structure tool because it knows it's configured like that because we've got the discover code. It knows it's a structural column. We've got the compass up. We've hit apply, and then it's populated straight off the compass. We've given it a type, and you can see straight away the structure symbol's oriented where you want it with the correct structure type. Because it's so good, I'll do it another couple of times to show you how to do it. So again, there's a structure tool. We know it's a structure configured column. I'm going to take another reading, and I'm going to give it a type, in this case of joint. And you can see that's come up, and just to hammer home how good it is, we'll just do one more. So the thing about it is it's really quick and easy to do. It's totally integrated with your device. You can use the structure compass, take as many structural readings as you want. You don't have to stop and record them because it's just bang, it's integrated straight into your structured data, okay? Great. Okay, so we'll take a couple of grab samples. So you'll see in this case, the sample numbers populated automatically because it was incremented. I'll give the SB, and now I'm going to take a photo in the field, and I'm going to append that to that sample. Done that a couple of times. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the polygon tool here. I'm going to use the freehand tool just to show you how easy it is to draw on the mobile device. So here's a freehand tool, and I'm going to give it a geology type. Save that. So again, really easy. Freehand tool's great. If you've got an Apple iPad, you can use the Apple Pen. It's awesome. So you can be away digitizing. So you could take a project out, give it to people to digitize, and then bring it back in really quickly. So because they can digitize on a tablet, which is so much quicker and easier than on a desktop where you're clicking on a mouse. So because you're drawing. So here we are. We've got 3 different polygons, all of different geology type. Now you'll see we hadn't set up a thematic yet on this, so you can set up the thematic whenever, before or after. So here's the theme style that we brought across from the desktop called Gannon's Geology. On field geology type, we'll apply that, and straight away it's colored exactly as you would see it on the desktop. All right. So now we've collected our data in the field, and so you can see how quick and easy it is. This is just a really basic example. What you want to be able to do now is show you how seamlessly you can bring that data back, okay? So what we're going to do now is we get our sync window up. So the project's been done. We go to the desktop, and we hit check in. Now this is super fast because it's not bringing over all the raster files, it's just bringing in the vector files. So I'm going to sync that. I select there's the desktop sync again. I select the project, and you can see, so this here, this window is the it's the mobile geopackage window. So you can see what's come in, all the objects, how many different objects there were for each table, and you can see that it's checked in. Also, we've got a project log. Because it's multi-user, you want to be sending it out to heaps of people. You want to keep a log of who's got it out and who's checked it back in. So we checked this out twice, and there was, and everyone's checked it back in. So it's got 2 green lights. So you can still go back to source if you haven't. It's just a visual guide to see who's still got data out in the field and Stu hasn't. So the next step and the last step is I want to save this back to my source files. I don't want it just to be on a geo package on the desktop. So that's really easy. Here I'm just setting up where I'm going to drop my images out to. I have to select a folder, and what that will do, it'll save that folder path to where that's been saved out. Here, if I can select a primary key, you have to do this if you've modified data. It's the only time you need to select a primary key to make sure you're not doubling up on it, okay? So it says the data to append, all the data we just put in, and that was updated. So now when I go back to the map window where all the source files are, and I'll just do a quick zoom and it will populate. And you can see all the data's come in back to the source files. So what I'll do now is I'll have a look at those image files that I collected. You'll see the attribute data down here in the image columns. And I'll just click on that, and then I'll link straight to the image file. So we're really happy. It really is as easy as it looks. It's great. You don't have to set up web services. It's just desktop to mobile. It's as easy as I've just shown you here today. Okay, so I've just really shown you the real basics of mobile because it's just getting data in and out and some basic data collection, but it's much, much more than that. It's been around since, but it's been integrated with MapInfo Discover. So it's got a heap of functionality on both iOS and Android. So just to go through it, so you can import and export GeoPackage as I've shown. It can support vector image and grids. It can support pick lists. It's got image support, so you can take an image, append it to an entry. It's got structure symbols. It's got thematics. You can import thematics off the desktop, or you can create a thematic in the field. So an example, I was in the field, I had a thematic, and I was looking at arsenic values, and it was like, it really wasn't, the first arsenic value was 0 to 50. It wasn't granular enough for what I wanted to look at. So went back, changed the thematic and reapplied it. So you can do that. It's got a ruler. Ruler's great. It's got distance and bearing. I use that all the time. If I go for a walk, I get the ruler out and look how far I've gone. Bluetooth GPS integration. So on both Android and iOS. It's got GPS point averaging for greater accuracy. It's got geofencing. We get a lot of interest out of our bigger clients with this. So you can have a geofencing file. It goes onto the mobile device. So whenever anyone then gets within you can set a buffer distance. They get within the buffer or over the geofence, an alarm will go off and they'll know not to go in there. It's got labeling, so you can label, you can see what the labels of things are. It's got a search function. So for example, if there's a soil, you want to go back and find where it is. You've got the soil number, you know it's a good value. Where is it spatially? You can search and find that. It's got area. So if I just, for example, I walk around an old mullock heap and it's polling the data and I want to see the area that's there, I can do that in the field. You can collect data via using the crosshairs or free form with your finger or using GPS. Okay, so however you want to collect data, you can. It's got area and distance. So if I get a track, I want to see the distance of that, I can. It's got object editing. So once I've edited something, I can delete, move, or add nodes to object edit. Now we're getting into the stuff that's really geological specific. So it's got image naming via sample name. So just say I've got a sample called James001, I can select the sample ID field as your photo ID field, and then it will give the photos that you put in the name JM001. So you'll always know that's the image name of that. If it gets lost in your system, you still know it's JM001. It's got a structure compass, which was shown. It's got a bearing compass, so if you just want to know which way you're walking. It's got a waypoint finder. It's got accuracy determination. You can report that out, so it can be as an export, or you can just see it on the screen. It works on iOS and Android. It's got portrait landscape mode. It's got a tracker. Love the tracker. So you can see where your field hands have been during the day to make sure they just haven't got all their soils out from under one tree. But most importantly, there's a lot of apps out there that say they'll do a lot, but this is built for high quality. It's built not to break. It's built, we update it with every, Android gets new release, it's built for that. iOS gets new release, we update it for that. It's constantly maintained. We're constantly bug tracking. In the very unlikely event that it does crash, there's a backup file, so you'll never lose your data. The worst thing we could do is build an app where you've collected a day's data and it crashes and you've lost it. We do everything in our power to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right, a couple of the latest features. The great thing about now is we've done all the base work. Now we're getting into really cool geo nerd stuff. It's like stereo nets, drill hole and trench display, the ability to take non-spatial data into the field. So you could take a down hole table. So when you get to drill hole, you can see what the results were, okay? All right, so that's all for mobile, and you can see just what a great thing it is already, and yeah, how easy it works. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Outcrop Mapping tool. So again, it's about field collection. So the Outcrop Mapping tool, it's kind of a halfway tool in a way. So what we're going for is we want to be able to take data in the field, bring it in. But before we did that, we had to create the desktop version to be able to bring an Outcrop map in. Okay, so, and within a few months, we'll have the mobile version that brings it in. So just go through that. So what you have to do with Outcrop Mapping is, just make sure this is started. So we've got an Outcrop Mapper tool. So you set up an Outcrop Mapper project, right? So you give it a CRS, excuse me, and you create an Outcrop Mapper project. And what that does, it creates an Outcrop Mapper GDB in the background, and it creates an Outcrops map, same as a drilling map. You can give it a DTM, so you're getting the Z values all the same of the same thing. You'll see as well, it creates a section template. Anyone that's used Discover currently, ArcGIS Pro knows the concept of the section template. So we treat these outcrops as sections. So every time you create one, you want to be able to create it with the same data type so you can quickly annotate it every time you create a new section. You don't want to have to create a new layer called structure points or something like that, okay? So here I'm doing a structure point table. So you see I've got dip, direction, and type. And I've got some image points there. So I want to collect some images or append them to a point. And here's some polygon data, just some base lithology. So we can put that in. So just populating the section template. So every time we create an outcrop, these files will come along with the outcrop, so you can start to annotate into them. So now I'm going to upload an image, an outcrop image. So I select my image, I load it, and it loads into a 2D map window, okay? So from here, you can see it's not rotated correctly, so I want to rotate it, and I reload it. And now I want to scale the image. So I have to do that with a known object. So an SWIG pick, I know is 33 centimeters, and I measure that. And what it does, it just says, okay, there's 201 pixels on that. So the width of the image is this, because it knows how many pixels it is. Next thing I do is I select where the image was taken, the capture point. So you can see I collected this with mobile, but I've manually entered the bearing and the distance and took the image and appended it to it. So you can see I've selected where this point was taken. It's got a bearing of 40, a distance of 5.5. And you can see in the outcrop window, it created some points and some rays, so it knows where that sits spatially. We know it's not spatially super accurate, but what it does give you is the ability to say, okay, it gives you geological context. So you can take this outcrop into the field. So you can do things like, okay, just say I was walking across this outcrop, I had a portable microscope, which is fantastic, really cheap, great device. And I've got those images. I took them from these points. Then I took some structure points. So like I said, this at the moment, you'd be populating this out of a field notebook, but within a few months, you'll be just coming in off Discover Mobile, okay? But we just have to get the desktop part right. So here I'm annotating my structure points, and you can see dip direction type. Now I can use the structure tool when it's in 3D to be able to put those discs in, all right? So here, just annotating, that was granite. That's an adit. And just some lines. So you can see you can take lines, give it unique symbology. And now what I want to do is I want to send this to 3D. So I'm going to use the ground as the Z. So because the Z on a GPS isn't particularly accurate, you want the image sitting on the ground. So what it does, it brings the image across with all the annotations that you've brought into, now it's in the 3D window in real world space, okay? So now I can apply the structure legend to those points. And you see I've used for the Z, the object. It's just the height in the object. It's not the ground layer this time, okay? So you can see now I've got my nice 3D discs using the structure tool. So you can see all these things are starting to come together. And now with the images, I'm gonna configure the pop-ups. So all the images that have been saved out into a folder, I can configure them as a pop-up. So I can come in and look at those. So now I've got this big 3D scene, which works really well as a digital twin. So it can really encourage me to collect data, bring it in and store it. And you can see the context of that outcrop. Sure, not spatially super correct, but good enough for exploration. Okay, so that's the outcrop tool. So the next part we're looking at, what we pride ourselves on, is ability to plan. We've got planning for traverses, grids, so you can take those soil grids out with mobile now, drill holes, whatever you want. So we've put in the ability, we couldn't do it before. So if you've planned a drill hole, you can put it onto a section. So in this example, you'll see we're just putting in 3 planned drill holes, just using a collar and a fixed as and dip. Pretty easy to do. You could do it using collar and target or target and as dip. But in this case, we're just doing collar and as dip. And now we want to display these on a section. So we go to the section, which is section 3, and we just hit current active map. And the drill holes will appear in what their style was for the planned drill holes. But also you might want to make it the same style as the drill hole trace. So you just click that button and hit. Comes out the same as the drill hole trace and the ticks and whatever style it's inherited off the section. Okay, and there's your planned drill holes on section. So the last facet of our 6 activities is to communicate. We've got fantastic ability in ArcGIS Pro to section, to put it in 3D, to web serve it. So what we've done under communicate, we've put some section grid improvements in. Prior to this, your section grid had to comply with either an A4 or an A3, a known template size, your page setup. So what we can do now is we can just select, if you've got a templated area, that's, you know, it's not a unique area. In a sec, let's hit play. What you can do is just select the map frame. It knows what the area is, and then it puts the section grid on it. The other thing you could do is now you can display easting and northing labels on the one line, where before, if you had northings, it would display the northing, eastings would display the eastings. You can display both. So you might want to print that out and then digitize it in some other software. So you'll see, that's it. So that's it for all our new features for this release. It was a biggie. There's a lot of work went into mobile, so congratulations to our team who've done it. the great thing is it makes it looks so easy. That's how good it is, because it is so easy. So they've done a fantastic job on getting it like that. So we're far from stop there. We've got a lot more we want to achieve. So if you have a look, so what's coming up 1.3, so we should have another release around about mid-year. And the first thing we're going to do is, instead of putting the Outcrop tool as just a flat section, we're going to have the ability to drape it. So if you've got really good LiDAR, or you've got, you know, just say it's from drone data, you've got a pretty reasonable DTM, you can just drape that. Or even if you've got bad DTM and you've taken a picture of the ground, so it's flat, that's okay. You can use the outcrop drape. That's the next part. So you'll see here in this story on the left here, you've taken a picture, you've annotated some features on it. And then what we do, you have to put in the height you took it off the ground, and it gets the bearing and the pitch off the camera, and it knows the range of the field of view of the lens of the camera. And so then what it does, it projects these rays from that point you took it to where it would intersect the DTM. And using that, then we do a 4-point projective reprojection of that image, and then we drape it in 3D, and the results are pretty good. Okay, so that's the next step. So we've almost finished that on the desktop part. We'll just get that integrated with mobile. So all of this outcrop mapping, it's currently being worked on by our mobile team to be able to take pictures in the field, annotate it, and then bring it in so it automatically comes in instead of having to do it on the desktop. Okay. Other things, again, still integrating with the mobile stuff and field collection. So with the legend tools, we're going to put line styles. So if you've got, if you're looking at 2D line styles for anticline or synclines or normal faults or thrust faults, you'll be able to do that nice and easily. The ability to support lineation, rake, because where we want to get to is if you take structural measurement with a compass, we're going to put the ability on mobile to be able to measure the rake of the lineation, so you can take a bedding and lineation measurement at the same time. And then you can also take the movement direction. So we've got fonts and tools to be able to do that. So you'll see here, let's go back. So if you've got no lineation, it's just the disk. Then you've got the lineation, it's got the lineations on the disk. And then if you've got lineation and structural movement, it's got the lineation and the arrow movement of direction, okay? We'll also have the ability to put in overturned bedding in the symbology. Collar plan, everyone's asking for collar plan. You could do it manually now, but we're going to make it automated. That's already been done already. Strip log and a correlation matrix. So if you're looking for Pearson or Spearman rank correlations with your geochemical data, you can do that using the correlation matrix. And that is it. Oh, and one more, the Fusion mobile integration. So the ability, before you take your data in the field, if you've got data that's come from Fusion or an SQL database that you want to go straight back in and not through Esri, you can tag those point files. They have to be point files. They can't be lines or polygons as that. And then instead of coming back through Esri, they can go back through the cloud and into your, if you've got Fusion, it can go straight back into your Fusion database or SQL if you've got it cloud configured. All right, that's it from me. Got 15 minutes for questions. So I will, let's just go to the attendees. I will unmute everyone. Hang on, how do I do that? Won't be a sec. And so we can just ask questions away. Hang on a sec, it won't be. Here we go, all. All right, so you're all unmuted. So if anyone's got a question, feel free to speak up or just put it in the chat as well. I think I've unmuted all attendees. It doesn't seem to want to do it. Sorry. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry. So if you want to do it, you can unmute yourself and then ask the question. Or put it in the chat. Anyone? Anyone? All right. Can't see. Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself, ask a question, or just come back in the chat. Watching the chat there, and I'll give it another minute. And if no one's asked a question, I will stop the. All right. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed and got something out of the webinar. If you've got any questions, just contact your Datamine office and we'll get you out there field mapping.
Tom.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.